Have you listened to Colin's Last Stand's podcast series, Fireside Chats? If not, you should. It's an interview series with interesting people, and it's available at soundcloud.com/ColinsLastStand, with new episodes launched each week. It's also available on podcast services of your choice, including iTunes. Give it a listen and let me know what you think. Now, on to the show. Greetings and salutations. Welcome back to Colin's Last Stand right here on YouTube. My name is Colin Moriarty. As always, I hope today's video finds you and yours very well. So today's episode of Colin's Last Stand is really more of a rant than anything else. And when I went back and looked at the catalog of episodes so far, we have over 50 of them, I realized that I've never really ranted. And I like to rant. You guys know I like to rant. And so let me rant. Let Colin rant. I want to rant about partisanship, and I want to rant about problem solving, and I think it's going to resonate with a lot of you guys. So I will say no further words right now, and we'll just get right into the video, and I'll see you on the other side. Over the past month or so, I've been rewatching The West Wing, the absolutely phenomenal television series created by Aaron Sorkin, who many of you might also know as being the creator of the more recent HBO show, The Newsroom. The West Wing ran from 1999 until 2006 and chronicles the stories of the White House staff surrounding fictional Democratic President Josiah Bartlet, with attention paid to his communications and writing staff, his chief of staff and deputy chief of staff, and his press secretary. I give you this unnecessarily comprehensive rundown for two reasons. First, you should watch the show if you haven't already, because it's excellent. And two, something in the fourth season prompted me to do this episode of CLS. The beauty of watching The West Wing for the first time in about a decade is that I don't remember almost any of it. So there was something in this random fourth season episode that I really latched onto, although I didn't expect to. The episode takes place right after President Bartlet's second inauguration, and Washington already has its eyes on the upcoming midterms, especially because while Bartlet is a Democrat, both the House and the Senate are controlled by Republicans. But the administration wants to drive legislation too, so they invite a moderate Republican congressman to the White House to make a deal on an infusion of money into an environmental cleanup initiative at Chesapeake Bay. All is going well on the bill, which will be named after its co-sponsors, including the moderate Republican House member, until the wider Democratic caucus catches wind of what's happening. Identifying the Republican as vulnerable and more interested in flipping his seat than passing meaningful legislation with his name on it, the White House ultimately throws the kibosh on the deal, but not before promising the congressman that he will get his money in a separate appropriations bill without his name on it. In other words, goodness got caught in the political vortex. Sound familiar? It's the perfect illustration of the deep dysfunction we're witnessing in contemporary Washington, D.C. And if I'm being frank, watching this fictional portrayal elicited a deep anger in me. See, I'm flummoxed by a simple truth that seems to govern Washington, D.C. regardless of which party is at the levers of power. The simple truth in question is that partisanship, above all else, rules the day. And partisanship can break any initiative and sabotage any goodwill. Not only can it, it does every day. This has been true since the waning days of George W. Bush's first term and has only gotten worse over time. Washington, D.C. has never been all that friendly, nor did it ever lack partisanship, but what we're seeing today is unheard of in post-19th century American history. The episode of The West Wing in question is about a bunch of other things. The Chesapeake Bay cleanup was a mere aside, but it was emblematic of a hurdle worth overcoming in the real world. We need to find a middle ground and get things done. We need to understand that to get what we want, someone else needs to get what they want, even if there's disagreement. Moreover, we need those who represent us, those in positions of power, to work hard and compromise. There are so many issues where obvious, palatable solutions exist, yet no one dares make a move, because God forbid anyone from the other side gets a win too. God forbid anyone bends a little to get something they wanted. So what you have is gridlock. I mean, look at Washington, D.C. right now. The Republicans control everything and still can't govern. Just the most recent evidence of a complete breakdown of comedy, as if we're all not American first, and whatever party designation a distant second. Let me give you some examples. Global warming is real, it really is. Denying it is stupid. There's copious evidence for it. We don't need to dismantle our economy because of it. We don't need to cap and trade. We shouldn't stop using fossil fuels. And we don't need to give up plastics, since that will shoot us straight back to the Stone Age. We don't even have to agree that global warming is entirely man-made. Maybe it isn't. But it's certainly at least partially man-made, and it seems to be causing catastrophic outcomes all over the planet. Could we maybe invest more in green energy? Perhaps lower or outright zero out taxes for green energy producers, while continuing to explore for domestic oil and natural gas reservoirs that can make us energy independent, bringing energy prices down while we wait for what's next? Couldn't we erect nuclear power plants and wind turbines? We can be forward-thinking but also pragmatic. What is stopping us from coming together on all of this? This is a solvable problem, but not for long. We need the best and brightest among us, regardless of ideology, to bring us towards a resolution. But partisanship won't let that happen. Party loyalty gets in the way. Why can't we solve our spiraling debt problem? What's stopping us from, as a rule, spending what we take in, like any responsible adult, like any functioning household? What's halting us from raising taxes on the very rich, eliminating deductions and complicated rule sets so big business can't get out of paying their fair share, and flattening the entire code to make it easier and more equitable for everyone? At the same time, what's stopping us from cutting spending? Is there honestly a person out there that thinks if the government is fully audited that we can't find copious waste in every corner? Why wouldn't we want to spend our money more judiciously? Why are we okay with wasting even a penny of our hard-earned cash on initiatives that make no sense, on redundant departments and agencies, or on fool's errands? Why are the arts and humanities being cut when they cost next to nothing, while billions are dumped into pork and pet projects? Why are we spending billions and billions of dollars on foreign aid when people here in the US are going without? Why aren't our parklands and museums being properly tended to? How hard could it possibly be for the two sides to come together and solve some of these problems for the sake of all of us? Let's talk about entitlements too. The New Deal and the Great Society ensured that we can never put the genie back in the bottle, and maybe we shouldn't even want to. Social Security and Medicare are socialistic, yet are also benefits that a free, successful, and vibrant society can afford, irrespective of your political slant. But our society cannot bear the cost of these programs as is. Why is there such reluctance in raising the age of retirement? Likewise, why is there such a hesitancy to means test these programs? Perhaps even raise the cap on FICA taxes to something higher. If these are such important cornerstones to our society, if everything will fall apart without them, if we cannot bear a reality void of Medicare and Social Security, why are we so hellbent on ensuring that they go belly up? Why are we insistent on making sure the pain, when it comes, is as awful and sudden as possible, instead of planning for the inevitable? And why does this mantra seem to follow us everywhere? 1/6 of Americans are on food stamps? That's absolutely insane. Able-bodied people receive welfare without having to work for it. That's also insane. Yet we're talking about whether the poor should have access to affordable healthcare? We balk at ensuring our uninsured children? That too is insane. The government is obsessed with doling out money, but it's not obsessed with paying for anything adequately or making the outlays work for us. And vulnerable people are kept flapping in the wind waiting for a fix. Where are our leaders? We have this strange obsession in the United States of pretending a problem doesn't exist. Case in point, illegal immigration. Immigrants are important to the United States. They always have been. That doesn't mean we have to let anyone and everyone in, legally or otherwise. It doesn't mean that we should turn our backs on people living illegally in our country receiving taxpayer benefits they aren't even entitled to. It also doesn't mean that we need to summarily round everyone up and throw them out because, let's be honest, they're here because we let them stay here without acknowledging it. Lots and lots of people are to blame for our current situation well outside of the illegal community. Being against illegal immigration doesn't make you a racist, any more than being for illegal immigrants makes you a paragon of virtue. Sovereign nations have the prerogative to control their borders and mitigate outsiders from interrupting their system. But modern societies like ours also have a duty to be good and decent. Is there really no middle ground here? We can't say legalize the illegal population without a pathway to citizenship while sealing our borders so this doesn't happen ever again. We don't need a gigantic wall to help us fix this problem. We need men and women at the highest rungs of the power structure to step up and do something, even if it's politically inexpedient, or perhaps even politically suicidal. Why is our military so bloated? Why do we have to have bases all over the world spending in excess of $600 billion a year on our defense, all the while we run massive budget deficits to pay for it that are piling into an unpayable debt? And by the way, when I say our defense, I really mean the defense of just about everyone else in addition to us. We need to cut military spending drastically. There's no reason why we should be planted all over the world in a post-World War II containment Cold War structure that has been antiquated for decades. We can have the most powerful, best trained, most effective fighting force in the history of the world and keep it at home without any intention of using it. We can have the best of both worlds, power and savings. We just need, some leaders to make that a reality. We don't need a war machine. What we need is a laser focus on peace, commerce, and friendship. Who doesn't want those things? Who wants war? We have an obligation to ourselves, our safety, our borders, our people. Anything else is secondary. That's the case for all militaries and for all governments, by the way. It's time to accept that we aren't the world's police force, that financial burdens coming from the UN and NATO need to be spread around, and that we're better off protecting ourselves exclusively, unless the situation truly calls for it. Did you know our healthcare system is broken? It's true. It's a complete unfettered mess, and it desperately needs to be fixed, from the top to the bottom. Why are we working towards repealing all of Obamacare when that makes no sense, when that's not what the people want, and when there are fundamentally good provisions in the bill? Politics, of course. And why are people trying to ignore Obamacare's many problems? Like there's nothing there that's not working. Like medical care isn't skyrocketing still. Like Barack Obama's key piece of legislation is anything more than deeply flawed. Politics, of course. As usual, principled arguments get in the way. Principles are good. Stubbornness is not. Healthcare is a sixth of the American economy. There are 325 million of us. We don't need to talk about Medicare for all or other universal healthcare schemes to get to the bottom of fixing our deeply flawed system. It's imperative that we do something about this. But as usual, political paralysis in Washington, D.C. ensures that will never be the case. No matter where we look, no matter what issue is on the table, no matter what the legislative agenda is at any given time, there's room for compromise, and there's plenty of space to get things done, to give a little bit to one side, to get a little bit back in return. To give a victory to one side so that you on your side can also net a win. Each and every one of these issues I ranted about today is solvable. Each and every one. Nothing I said is at all out of the mainstream. Nothing I said is at all a fringe notion only held by a dedicated portion of a group of politicians. So why isn't literally any of it getting done? Why is literally not one single solitary thing that I listed being successfully pursued? Not to mention being acted on, not to mention being fixed to make the lives of all Americans better. It's partisanship, pure and simple. It's what killed the bill that the Bartlett White House was working on with the moderate Republican congressman in the West Wing. Even when the two sides agree, they don't, they can't, they won't. We all deserve better. From the military to global warming, from energy initiatives to taxes, from immigration to social programs, we have deep problems that require common sense answers. We all know that. All we seem to be missing at this juncture are the elected adults necessary to roll up their sleeves and get things done. All right, rant over. That felt good. I feel a whole lot better. I like doing episodes like this. Maybe I'll do them more often, but I'd like your feedback. So leave comments down there below. I'll be reading them and hopefully interacting with you guys. I love to hear what you think. And of course, you should thumb up the video if you liked it, thumb it down if you don't. That lets me know if you like the video or not as well. As usual, please consider sharing these videos with your friends and family to spread the word of Colin's Last Stand, and consider supporting me on Patreon as well if you'd like. I will waste no more of your time today. I hope you and yours are doing great. I will see you next time for more Colin's Last Stand. Keep on learning.